That's a fine point. I recognize the distinguished gentleman from California, Mr. Lieu, for 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Representative Raskin and Senator Durbin, for calling this important bicameral spotlight hearing. And thank you to the attorneys general from the amazing state you're coming from. A number of you I have briefed at the vice chair presentations, so I appreciate you doing that. And I served with Attorney General Ellison. So I'm going to ask some questions of Attorney General Ellison, but all of you are welcome to respond. Last week, I had the honor of meeting with a number of immigrant rights groups, and they were describing horrific incidents where you would have folks wearing masks who we assume were law enforcement agents, maybe, maybe not, who were rounding people up, putting them in a vans without due process, sometimes using excessive force, sometimes engaging in what looked like arrests that did not have probable cause or detentions that didn't have reasonable suspicion. And none of this had any judicial warrants. So I'm going to ask Attorney General Ellison some questions. The standard for arrest for a law enforcement official to arrest a person is probable cause, correct?
Right.
Skin color, race, and ethnicity does not constitute probable cause, correct?
That's absolutely right. And if I may say so, I mean, we've seen Sheriff Joe Arpaio convicted for contempt of court because he continued to do racial profiling when it came to immigration enforcement. So it's not only statutory law, but there have been a number of cases that find this very point.
Thank you. Now, law enforcement officials can do what's called detaining a person, something less than an arrest, and the standard for that is reasonable suspicion, correct?
That's right.
Skin color, race, and ethnicity does not constitute a basis for reasonable suspicion, correct?
That's absolutely right.
In fact, that would be mass racial profiling if someone did that, correct?
I would say, yeah, absolutely. That's clear precedent.
And so what we're seeing are ICE raids at Home Depots, parks, and other public places with no judicial warrant. So essentially, they're just engaging in mass racial profiling. They're basically just going after people based on their skin color or race or ethnicity. And the problem is, not only is that mass racial profiling, you also end up detaining U.S. citizens, detaining people who have the right to be here. And so I urge state officials to look at that and do anything you can to stop that. Sometimes you have people who are bystanders and they film this activity. And I just want to make sure that people who are bystanders can film what ICE agents are doing in the public. They have a right to do that, correct?
Right. You cannot obstruct or interrupt, but you can. You have a First Amendment right.
And it's because some folks filmed activity that we have this article from KTLA, a respected local news organization in Los Angeles. The title is "Masked Men in U.S. Border Patrol Vests Take Santa Ana Father After Repeatedly Hitting Him." The first sentence of the story is, in a graphic video that has since gone viral on social media, about 7 or more masked men wearing U.S. Border Patrol vests are seen violently detaining a father in Santa Ana before forcing him into the back of an unmarked car on Saturday. That father also happens to be the father of 3 U.S. Marines. And people have the absolute right to film and to send that to the press. So the Department of Homeland Security has said that there's been an increase on assaults on their agents. So let me just first say, anyone assaulting a federal agent or any law enforcement officer, that is a crime. And if you do that, you're going to be prosecuted. At the same time, the Department of Homeland Security wants their agents to be respected. They cannot violate the law. They cannot arrest people without probable cause. They cannot detain people without reasonable suspicion. They cannot engage in mass raids without judicial warrants. They cannot use excessive force. And they should not act like vigilante folks wearing masks. So that's what is happening. And I just want to ask this question to you. If this video is true, and in fact, the Border Patrol agents just beat up a person without justification, can state and local authorities go ahead and charge those federal officials if the Trump Department of Justice does not do so?
What I'll say is that nobody's allowed to break the law or assault somebody. If you are a member of law enforcement and you assault somebody, it would be subject to Fourth Amendment analysis under a case called Graham versus Connor. The law enforcement would be able to would have the affirmative defense of reasonableness, but there is no immunity to assault people by anyone, including law enforcement. As a matter of fact, everybody is subject to the Fourth Amendment. There is a affirmative defense for law enforcement, but there is no blanket permission to use violence against somebody, and certainly none to do it on the basis of racial targeting or profiling or anything like that. I'm not familiar with the case that you mentioned, but I can tell you that in order to arrest somebody on a non-judicial, on a detainer hold or something like that, you have to have objective criteria. It can't simply be race. It can't be national dress. It can't be language. It's got to be stuff like, well, they looked you up and there's no match in the immigration database. It's got to be that there's a removal order for you. It has to be something like you admit that you entered the country unlawfully. It has to be, there could be an expired visa, but it cannot be some criteria such as race, national origin, language, stuff like that. And of course, excessive force is something that the Fourth Amendment does not permit.
Thank you. I yield back.